Hey guys, before I start this story, I just want to let you guys know that I finally got a fucking P.O. box. I have been telling people for about roughly 3 years that I was gonna get a P.O. box, and I've never done it because honestly, I really do have a huge fear that somebody's gonna send me anthrax. I don't know what I'm gonna do yet, but I have a P.O. box. It is active. I'm gonna leave the address down below. By no means do you have to send me anything, okay? Please do not steal your parents' credit cards and buy me a fucking dildo, okay? I already have enough dildos. Anyway, let's get on to this story. The reason why I wanted to make this video is because this shit happened last night. It's very rare that I do a video that is actually very fresh. Usually the videos are from years ago or things that I kind of just like remembered and I'm like, oh my god, I have to tell that story. But this shit happened last night, okay? This could not be any more fresh in my brain. Let's just get into the story and let's talk about what happened. I am not gonna say the name of this airline because I don't want to deal with that kind of shit. Last night my flight was leaving Miami at 9:06 p.m. so I got to the airport like at 7 because every time I go to the airport some shit goes wrong. I finally learned what my mom has been trying to teach me since I exited her vagina. That you need to be at the airport 2 fucking hours early, Jesse. I always was like, no, that's ridiculous. You don't need 2 hours. Yes, you do. Something always goes wrong. It just never fails. So I got there 2 hours early and thank God I did because the line to drop off my luggage was legitimately 45 minutes long. I finally get to the front of the line and I tweeted this yesterday, but I don't know if all airport gate agents just like decided to be upset at the world together or if that's like a job requirement for them. This lady was so upset at the world, like just in general. She literally called me, she's like, next customer, and as I was walking to her, she just walked away and I'm like, what? So I walked up to where she was anyway. She went off, talked to all her little gate agent friends, and then came back. But whatever, I was already there. I was like, I have time. I came early. It's fine. She finally came back. I put my bag on the thing to weigh it or whatever. And she goes, yeah, that's gonna be $50. I looked at her and I was like, no, I think you're mistaken. That is not gonna be $50. She's like, your bag is overweight. You know how most airlines, their weight limit is 50 pounds, but if you're over 50 pounds, they will charge you. I look at the scale. That shit, I'm not even joking, was at 50.6. And this bitch, instead of telling me like move some of your stuff, was like, yeah, that's gonna be $50. And I looked at the scale, I go, no, it's not. I opened my bag, I got one of my speakers out that I had in there, I closed it and I go, okay, so 25. She was so upset that I did that, but like I wasn't doing it to be rude. I was just like, bitch, I'm paying $50 for this bag. After that had happened, I wasn't in the best mood because I had just waited that long line. It was just super annoying. So I finally get past security, which was a whole other line. I sit down in front of the gate and I just wait to board. I'm like, oh my goodness, finally. I used to be really afraid of flying. I think I mentioned that in a video a long time ago, but I was deathly afraid of flying. I have since gotten over that fear, but anyway, you'll see why that's important later. Our plane was late, so we didn't even start boarding until like 30 minutes after we were supposed to leave, but that's pretty typical. Honestly, I didn't even care. We all get on the plane, and I immediately noticed when I went to sit down that the guy that I was sitting next to was very strange. I wasn't sitting directly next to him. There was an empty seat in between us, thank goodness. But right away, as I saw the number of my seat, I noticed that he was super nervous. And not in the way that I used to be nervous when I was scared of flying and I would like freak out before we left. It wasn't like that. It was just the most bizarre behavior. He kept like half getting up and looking back and then sitting down and half getting up and then sitting down again and looking around like every 2 seconds. I started getting so nervous. I was like, why is this guy doing that? The first thing I thought was, Jesse, you're tripping yourself out. Nothing is wrong. You're just going crazy and you're tired and you need to relax. But then he started getting even more weird. He kept nervously calling people. So he would call someone, hang up, call someone else. I was like, oh my god, this guy's driving me nuts. But I still was like, Jesse, just relax. Nothing's wrong. Until he started covering his mouth when he was talking. He had the window seat, so he was on the phone leaning towards the window and covering his mouth like this. His voice sounded muffled like that. He was like, no, I don't know. I don't know. And he was looking around while he was doing it. I lost my shit, okay? I was tearing up. I was just sitting back like, oh my god. Oh my god, what do I do? What do I do? Do I tell someone? What do I do? The point where I really lost it was when I heard him say, yeah, south. I was like, south? We're not going south, we're going west to Los Angeles. Wait, south? Does he mean like the plane's going south? Like he's gonna crash the plane? I don't want you guys to think I'm just being dramatic for the point of the story time. Like, no, I literally thought these things. I was tearing up. I was in the back of my seat. I was almost like rocking how nervous I was. And I was very torn because I know you're supposed to tell someone if you see something suspicious, but how am I supposed to tell someone when he's sitting right there? Excuse me, ma'am, this guy's fucking weird. actually scaring the shit out of me. Can you take care of it? There's no normal way to do that. So I literally had to have like a conference call with myself and Jesus, and I was like, I don't know what's gonna happen, but I need to relax. All of this was happening before they even shut the airplane door, so I was like, Jesse, you still have time. If you feel in your gut that you need to get out, then fucking get out. For some reason, I just kept my ass glued in that chair. I was like, honestly, if something happens, then it was meant to happen. And I was having this whole conversation, like I was accepting my death. I knew as well that I was very exhausted at this point. I had a very, very long week. The lack of sleep was insane. So I was like, maybe I'm just tripping myself out because I'm like hallucinating, or I don't know, maybe I'm just making this into something it's not because I need to go to sleep. So I just sat back in my chair, I closed my eyes, and I tried to calm down. I actually ended up falling asleep for like a few minutes, but I was awoken by the pilot's voice. He said, we're so sorry for the inconvenience. We're gonna push back in just a little bit. We only have a slight problem that I've never experienced before. And I was like, wonderful. That's just what everyone wants to hear before they take off in a fucking speeding bullet of death. All of my fears of flying came back to me in that moment. I was like, oh my god, this is it, bitch. This is how you die. Either this plane's gonna fall apart on its own or this motherfucker's gonna bring it down. So one way or another, right? The pilot said that the weight on the plane was uneven, so they had to redo the bags where they had to take 50 luggages from the front of the plane to the back of the plane to make it more balanced. And then my crazy brain starts turning, and I was literally thinking, oh my god, what if their weight measurements are wrong in the first place? Then they move the luggages to the back of the plane, but that is what actually makes it uneven, and then when we take off, this whole thing's just gonna fucking flip over. I had to do another breathing technique. I was like, Jesse, just like take it easy. Everything's fine. It's fine. Just breathe. And then we finally push back from the gate. When they close the doors, I kind of like breathe out in relief because once they close the doors, I know I can't get out. And I was literally thinking about running off that plane. We're this close to taking off when all of a sudden another beautiful voice comes over the speakers. We're sorry for the inconvenience, ladies and gentlemen, but we will be having to return back to the gate because we need to escort a passenger off the plane. This made everyone feel weird. We were like, wait, what? Like, why is someone leaving the plane? That has never happened to me on a plane. We're on the way back to the gate and this guy comes running up the aisle and he's like, I gotta go. And I'm like, me too. The guy was saying everything that was on my mind. He was like, you all can have a nice flight. I have a weird feeling and I just have to trust my feelings. My mind was blown. I was looking at this guy and I'm like, oh my god, I need to get off this plane. Jesse, could it be more clear? But so many things were keeping me on that plane. I needed to get home to LA. I needed to see my fucking dog. At this point, like once we started taxiing again to the runway, he kept checking his pockets and he kept checking his watch. And I was like, what? What's in your pockets? Why do you need something in your pockets? We finally take off, and the second we take off, I was so nervous. I had to like literally swallow vomit. That's disgusting, but it's true. I'm always a little bit nervous during takeoff because I know most disasters happen within the first 10 minutes. And I think the guy noticed that because he looked at me and kind of like smiled. He was like, and I just said, oh, I'm sorry, I'm a nervous flyer. And then he said the most comforting words anyone could have ever said in that situation. He said, do you want an Ambien? Now, I don't take Ambien. I don't take any of those things, so I kindly declined, but he then got an Ambien and took it himself. And it was in that moment that I realized, Jesse, you're a fucking crazy ass bitch. He's just a nervous flyer that you completely profiled as a hijacker. I mean, not profiled because he was like a young hot guy, which honestly, like, had I not thought he was a hijacker, like I would want him to like call me. But like I completely made up this story about him in my head. I don't know if it was the lack of sleep, but honestly, he really was acting weird. I then ordered 2 vodka tonics because I even had like the after nerves. Have you ever gotten after nerves? It's like you were so nervous that even when you're not nervous anymore, you're still fucking nervous. So I had that. I was like, can I have a double vodka tonic? Thank you very much. I drank that, edited a little bit of a video, and then just fell asleep. I went to sleep and I was like, everything's gonna be fine. Jesse, what'd you worry for? You're so silly. That was before I got rudely awoken by a fucking female voice screaming on the intercom. Do we have any doctors on board? Any doctors, nurse, or EMT, please? This is an urgent situation. Do you think I'm joking? I'm not fucking joking. This has happened to me on planes before where someone, is feeling sick or whatever, and they're like, if there's any doctors on board, please let us know. No. This flight attendant was losing it. I thought someone was like popping a baby out back there. I didn't know what was happening, but I was like, this is bad. I've always been told to follow a flight attendant's lead. If the flight attendant's happy, you're happy. If she's freaking out, you definitely should be freaking out because they're not supposed to be freaking out. Like 7 people on the plane rushed to the back because apparently this was a fucking plane of only doctors. And I'm sitting there like the most useless non-doctor potato in the fucking world, and I'm looking back like, what is happening? Selfishly, I was like, oh my god, I hope it's not something serious that we have to do an emergency landing. Like, can they just fucking even wait it out till we get to Los Angeles. This went on for, I'm gonna say like 45 minutes. And that is a very long time for a plane. But this lady was just freaking out. She herself kept going back and forth and telling everybody, nobody can use the bathroom. Everybody sit down. Long story short, everything was fine. Obviously, I'm alive. I'm not gonna lie, when we finally landed, I was kind of in shock. I was like, oh my God, we made it. Maybe it's me being dramatic. It's not me being dramatic for this story time, okay? I'm just dramatic in general. And obviously, I can't trust my gut feeling because I have no idea what the fuck I'm talking about. Anyway, that's my plane ride from hell. That's what I spent my night doing. What'd you guys do? But anyway, that's all for today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please subscribe to my channel. I put out new videos every Tuesday and Saturday. Don't forget to check out my P.O. box if that's something you want to do. Please don't send me anthrax. Story time, someone sent me anthrax. Story time, I died. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you on Tuesday. Bye. I looked up at the sky and I said, oh my God. And Stupid was like, what? What happened? And I told him, don't you see? We live in a planetarium. Look around you. This isn't real. There's a guy named John that controls the weather. Hello?